Okay, so welcome back. Your homework helper is here. Let's continue on. So, again, we're working on elimination. And we need, again, our coefficients to be the same but different signs. So our next step is to look here again at our x's and to look at our y's. And are either one of those the same number? And the answer is no. I've got a -4 and 9, not the same. I've got 2 and 12, not the same. So I can't just change the sign. I'm going to have to actually make either those x's the same or the y's the same. Now, the number for your x's, okay, to make them the same, we would have to make them both be, 36? Kind of like a common denominator. They both go into 36. On my y's, they will actually both go into 12, okay? And since 12 is one of my numbers, we could just multiply one equation. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. So all I need to do is take this top equation and I'm going to multiply it by a -6. And when I take a -6 times that 2, I'm going to get a -12, okay? And now that -12 and this 12 will eliminate, okay? So do you see what I'm going to do? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to distribute this -6 all the way through. So a -6 times a -4 is 24. -6 times 2 is a -12. And a -6 times 20 is a -120. Okay? The second equation, I'm not actually going to do anything with it, so I just rewrite it. Okay? And now when I go to add these two together, see, I have the same number, opposite signs, and these will eliminate. So I'm going to go ahead and add my x's up. 24 and 9 would be 33. And a -120 and a -12 is a -132. I'm going to go ahead and solve by dividing. So x equals, and then I would just run that division, -4. Okay? Now, when I come back up to my original equations, pick either one, again, the top or the bottom, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this -4 for the x, so either here or here, whichever one you prefer. I typically just stick with, for the most part, the top one, but you can definitely do either one. So I'm just going to do the top one. So a -4 times my -4 that I put right there, plus 2 times y equals 20. -4 is 16. I'm going to move my 16 over. So 2y equals 4. Divide by my 2, and y is 2. So my x is a -4, and my y is 2. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to number 16. I want you to take a look at your x's. Are they the same? Take a look at your y's. Are they the same? If they're not the same, would it be easier to make the x's the same or the y's the same? Okay, now I think it would be easier, in my opinion, to make the y's the same, because I can take and multiply this equation by +3. This one is a -3, and then therefore they would eliminate. Okay. So if I was you, I would pause the video and I would try to go ahead and multiply that by 3 and see if you can work the problem out. Okay, and then come back in and watch me do it. Okay, so I'm going to leave the first equation alone. and do get in the habit of rewriting that, I'm going to distribute this through. Okay, and I did a positive 3 because this one was already negative. Those are going to eliminate. I get a negative 24y equals, what would that be? 72 negative. Divide by a negative 24, and y would be 3. Okay? Now, what do you do after that? Okay? So hopefully your answer is I'm going to come back up to my original equation, and I'm going to put that 3 for the y. Now, in this case, I could put it here or I could put it here. I personally think the second equation this time looks the easiest, so I'm going to go the second equation. So x minus 4 times the y equals a negative 15. So x minus 12 equals a negative 15. Then I'm going to add the 12. So x equals a negative 3. Therefore, my answer would be a negative 3, 3. Okay. We're going to try the next two. So again, ask yourself, look at these two numbers. Look at these two numbers. Are they the same, or could you make them the same? And if you're going to make them the same, what number are you going to make them? So again, basically what we're talking about is like a least common denominator. I want to know what number will 5 and 8 both go into, not what will go into them. So in this case, they'll both go into 40. And to do that, I would have to multiply the top by 8 and the bottom by 5. Or 3 and 4 will both go into 12. In which case, they already have opposite signs. Okay, one's positive, one's negative. And so I can multiply the top one by 4 and the bottom one by 3. I personally think that's easier. That's going to give me smaller numbers than the 40. So that's how I'm going to work the problem. Okay, so with that decision made, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this one by 4 and this all by 3. Now again, watch what happens. When I distribute that 4, I get 20x plus 12y equals a negative 48. Okay, that's this equation. Now I'm going to do the next one, and I'm going to multiply by 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times a negative 4 is a negative 12. And 3 times a negative 28, let's see, I believe that's, 84. And negative. So again, what you see here is I have a plus 12 and a minus 12, and they eliminate. And again, that is the objective. I'm going to put my x's together. I'm going to get 44 x's. And when I add in my y's, what's that going to give me? I got 12, carry 1, 12, 13, negative 132. Okay, and you're welcome to put that in your calculator and double check my values. I'm going to divide both sides by 44. And I believe that comes out to be a negative 3 even. And you again can check my numbers. Now, what do I do next? Well, I come back up to my original equations, okay, the originals, and I am going to put that negative 3 for either the x here or the x here, and you can take your pick. I'm going to do it for the first one. So again, I just substituted that in. I'm going to simplify. I'm going to add the 15. Divide both sides by 3, and y equals 1. Okay, again, Be sure you write your answer as x and y. Okay, we're going to do one more. So again, I ask you to try to work it without me. Okay, is it easier to make these two the same or to make these two the same? Remember, you don't want them also the same, but you also want them different signs. So remember, one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. So is it easier to make the first one's 30 or the second one's 21? It's your call, whichever one you want to do. Okay, so I am going to choose to make the first ones the same, the x's. So that means I'm going to multiply this one by 10 or by 3, and that's going to give me 30. But I need the other one to be a negative, so I've got to multiply it by a negative 10 to get a negative 30. Do you see why I did that? One's got to be a positive 30, the other's got to be a negative 30. I'm going to distribute. So I get in the top equation, I'm doing this one first, 30x minus 21y equals a negative 36. Sorry, let me rewrite that. That's a minus 36, so equals a negative 36. Now I'm going to do the next equation by a negative 10. So a negative 10 times 3 is a negative 30. Negative 10 times a negative 3 is a positive 30. And a negative 10 times 0 is 0. So again, when I do my x's, I have a positive 30 and a negative 30, and they will eliminate. And make sure one is positive and one is negative, or that's not going to work. Negative 21 and a positive 30 would be a positive 9 equals the negative 36. Go ahead and solve, and I get a negative 4. Again, now I'm going to go back up to one of my equations, and it doesn't matter which one, but I always go back to the original, and I know what y is, so I'm either going to put it here or here. Now, I personally think in this case, again, the bottom might be easier just because it's equal to 0. So I'm going to do 3x minus 3 times the y equals 0. So 3x plus 12 equals 0. I'm going to move the 12 over. So 3x equals a negative 12. I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and x equals a negative 4. Again, be sure to write your answer as x and y. Final answer. Okay, so that was your homework helper. And hopefully that helped you out and you understand what we're doing.